Is why polls recorded low turnout. Nasarawa State Governor speaks on cost of living protest, describes almajiri as a time bomb, and later on the show, Sports Minister apologizes for 2024 Olympics poor performance, says Nigerians deserved more. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Chris Kendi Wandu, while me and Akira will join us later for sports. Journalist Hangout starts now. Welcome back, everyone. In order to prevent infiltration of unqualified persons in critical sectors in Nigeria, there is the urgent need to crack down on the issue of certificate forgery and illegal mobilization of graduates for the National Youth Service. The National Youth Service Corps NYSC has expelled 54 corps members, including a bread seller, who were illegally mobilized by the University of Calabar, UNICAL, for national service. This came after the invalidation of 101 certificates of illegally mobilized graduates of UNICAL who were part of the scheme between 2021 and 2023. The Director General of NYSC, Brigadier General Ahmed, noted that the culprits will be punished accordingly and promised to reinvigorate efforts to stop the menace. Let's share the story by TVC News. Mariam Mohammed with you.
The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Yushahu Ahmed, explained what led to this investigation on fake certificates in the NYSC scheme.
Before I came here as a DG, there was a time such list of people were found in the same University of Calabar, where we discovered a bread seller was mobilized as a corps member. The name was generated. You know, we have bad eggs in so many places. They just go and teach some individuals. They just generate, what is it called, matric number, give them courses, a course, and just send to NYSC. What do you do?
He also disclosed the records of the number of fake graduates involved in this activity and called for prosecutions if they are found guilty.
The actual number reported are 178. The one published, the one we have invalidated their certificate are 99. For the exemption certificate are 2. Put together, that is 101. Then we have 4 certificates that were not yet produced. You understand? Before the production of that certificate, when we started talking with the Vice Chancellor, we discovered, now we put this production on hold. So 4 candidates or corps member that ought to have collected this certificate could not collect because we have not produced them. And 19 of them, they have actually registered, waiting for mobilization to go to camp. We have blocked them in our system. We have 54 serving corps members in various states. These 54 we have communicated to all our state coordinators. They too, they have already been demobilized.
Encourage prospective students to do the right thing.
You may try to cut corner, but you cannot go away with it. There may be a time that definitely will be caught. So it is even better you go through the right channel instead of going through shortcut.
Organizations and agencies are advised to always verify certificates before giving employment or appointment in order to curb this menace. Mariam Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective. Covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed. and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done any.
Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Mikhail, let me start with you. Bread seller, 53 other fake graduates kicked out of NYSC after UNICAL mobilization. Academic integrity is becoming suspect and questionable in Nigeria. Are our systems that weak?
Yeah, that's even putting it mildly. This is not exactly new. It's been there for so long. And you wonder how long it will take before we sanitize the process. There are people who take money because of unemployment. Some people enroll and enroll again. They just want something that will keep them busy. Some fake their age, just so that they can stay within the age ceiling. Because once you are 30 years, you are not supposed to be enrolled for youth service. So people want what they can do over the course of 1 year. And they know that with the NYSC scheme, at least they can keep themselves busy for that length of time. So in the hope that during youth service, they could secure employment. Some of them, even with fake certificates, they get mobilized, and if they are lucky, even with the fake certificates, they will secure employment in their area of primary assignment over and above those who are genuinely qualified for mobilization, those who are who have the proper certificates, who have gone through school and secured the proper certificate. So it's been there for so long, but I'm particularly disappointed that the universities would be smuggling names of people who did not pass through the school onto the NYSC list so that they can be mobilized to do youth service in the course of a year. So this thing has been there for long, and a lot of the people in camp, even when they are interviewed, you find that they cannot speak good English. You have every reason to believe that they didn't even go through school at all because of things like this. In 2006, the then DG of NYSC, Momo, saw a student and challenged the student to mention the title of his project. And the guy, he said something incredulous. At that point, it became clear that he had no business being in the NYSC camp. So he said, in Nigeria, it's difficult for anything to shock us anymore, because when you think you've seen it all, you just hear that something strange happened. So,
but do you think we may achieve some level of integrity if more university stakeholders report situations like this? Because apparently it was the Vice Chancellor of the university that reported this particular situation.
Yeah, the schools have to have their own internal mechanism to ensure that these sort of things don't happen. Because it's a case of some unscrupulous university staff letting the university down, letting other honest people down. Because the truth is, the vice chancellor cannot do all the work himself, but he has to trust the people that he has. So bad eggs within an organization can contrive to smuggle the names of bread sellers, amala sellers, and all that into the NYC list. And once this is done, frankly, there's little that the NYC can do, because the NYC expects to trust the schools. But when schools generate fake matriculation number for individuals who didn't pass through their school, and then mobilize them for the NYC, there's little the NYC can do.
All right. Sikin, let me come to you. Certificate forgery, certificate racketeering, our systems that weak, and in this instance, Unical, bread seller, 53 other fake graduates kicked out of NYC after Unical mobilization.
Certificate forgery is not something new to us. If you're a Lagos girl, which I know you are, you remember what we used to have as the Uluwole. BK knows what I'm talking about.
You know, me, I'm not a Lagos.
So we used to know what we used to call Uluwole in those days. Uluwole is a place somewhere in central Lagos where you can get all sorts of things, including visa to travel out of Nigeria. It was that bad that at the end of it was, when you see a fake visa or fake certificates, as it were, of any university in the world, I'm not talking of Nigeria now, it will be difficult for you to even to distinguish between the original and fake. So talking about fake certificates, this thing is not new. Even we have seen it instances where even a former speaker, the first speaker of the House of Representatives in 1999, was also had to be removed because of fake certificates. So that is not, it has always been and will always be. We can only try to better the ways and manners how to verify these certificates. But coming to the real issue, when I see what is happening or what has been happening in NYC of late, it gives me so much concern. Because NYC, I remember in our days when we were mobilized, I was mobilized in 1990, I was of the 1990 batch. I knew the enthusiasm with which we are ready to go to use. In fact, once you are in your final year, you are not even waiting for your results. You are not even interested in what you're, because already in your final year, you know that you are going to come out with 2-1, 2-2, or let my people go, as we used to say it in those days. But that youth service, we were all, because when you look at a copper, you see the way a copper dress. It is like, one day I want to wear this uniform. And we were mobilized. I was mobilized. I was sent to Kwara State to a camp called Yipata. It's one of the best camps in Nigeria. And I know the nostalgic feeling I had. Those days still remains with me. Over close to 35 years or going to 40 years that I served. That is first level. Then, after that, I was now redeployed. I was redeployed to a local government called Oyi Local Government. Oyi Local Government is what has turned out to be what is called Kaba Local Government in Kwara State. And Kogi State, and we really enjoyed ourselves. During my service here, I got to know the people of Kaba within that. Up to BKO's place. I know Ikiriade. I was the president of the Corporate Association, the whole of local government. I know Ikiriade, I know Yamode, I know Ijumu. I went to as far as Yara. Although you know those places, very nostalgic. After when I finished the service, I want to say it was my parents that insisted I must come back to Lagos because I was the people, and that I think that was part of the bond I have with BKO because his people are so loving. Because of the experience I had in just about 9 months in being in that area. And when you see what is happening now, All manner of things happen. And the question I want to ask, and you know what the question I was asking, why is it always Unical? And that is a fundamental. Yes. Let me tell you. I remember recently, a professor of law in Unical was involved in sexual harassment of students that blew so much out of it that he has to be arrested. He's still on trial. And Unical used to be one of the second-generation institutions in Nigeria that was well respected. But we need to commend the vice chancellor of the university for pointing this out. For every one or two that we find from Unical that we are not supposed to be in, I will tell you that about 3 or 4 more are in most other universities in Nigeria. And that is what, that means that NYC need to have a proper way of documenting final year students and those who go for service. And it is just rather unfortunate that we're just trying to drag this in the mud.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on quickly. Amid diplomatic efforts to resolve Nigeria's dispute with Fujian Industrial Investment Company, the firm has released one of the 3 seized presidential jets belonging to Nigeria. The federal government had stated that both legal and diplomatic instruments will be deployed to ensure release of the aircraft, as they are sovereign assets that cannot be confiscated. Recall that the seizure took place after an arbitration ruling by a Paris court in favor of the Chinese firm to use any of Nigeria's assets abroad in payments of the $70 million judgment debt from a trade dispute. Mikhail, let me start with you. And I'd like you to help us with a background, a detailed background of what exactly is happening. Because at the moment, former governors, Ibikile Amosu had spoken. Benga Daniel has also spoken.
Yeah, it's just a case of contractual agreement between a state government in Nigeria and a Chinese firm going wrong. People can do business together and things will go wrong. Either because one of the parties didn't honor its obligation or for one reason or another. Look at the Mambila project, for example. The project is stalled because we decided to revoke the contract, and the company decided to report Nigeria government to higher quarters. In this case, the court of arbitration. The penal fee that we are going to pay for that, for revoking that contract, it will be difficult for the Nigerian government to pay it because it's a lot of money. That kind of money can do a lot by way of infrastructure in our country. It's also similar to what we have, the P&ID matter, but thankfully Nigeria won that case. So in this case, the contract was executed in 2007, but somehow it didn't go according to plan, and the Chinese firm decided that it's been cheated, and it approached the court of arbitration in France, and the court gave it the mandate to attach Nigerian assets so that it can recover the judgment debt. Now, it makes absolutely no sense to attach presidential jets because they are seen as sovereign assets. If you want to attach, what's it called, Nigerian assets, they are supposed to be assets of the state government. But it will be difficult for them to find assets of the state government, especially in a foreign land, because the execution of the court mandate itself is problematic. How do you do it? They've been going around different jurisdictions, just as the Ogun State government explained. They tried to levy execution in different jurisdictions, but they didn't succeed until now. Now, what the Minister of Foreign Affairs is saying is what I found germane. Sub-national entities shouldn't get into contractual agreements with foreign countries without the input of the federal government. Because look at what has happened now. This is not a federal government deal. But in levying execution of the judgment of the Court of Arbitration in France, it is the belonging of the federal government that these people are touched. And the Ogun State government is claiming that the court was misled by the claimants. And I want to believe that there is a level of treason to that, because the property attached does not belong to Ogun State government. And based on international law, residential jets are seen as sovereign assets that you do not attach in this kind of situation. So they are confident that the judgment, the order of the court will be vacated, to enable the federal government recover those presidential jets. At the end of the day, if we had the capacity to service airplanes in our country, as we used to have, nobody will be going to France and other countries of Europe and America to do C check. Because this C check is mandatory for commercial airlines as well as even private airlines. They must be certified fit to fly. And what they usually do when they send them abroad, it costs a lot of money, and they fly back empty with an official of the NCAA going there to ensure that, okay, this whole C check is done, has been done, and they can confirm that it was properly done. They will then fly back to the country empty. It's a lot of money. We used to have where Arik Air has its hangar today. Nigerian Airways used to have its hangar. And some foreign airlines that are very big today, like Ethiopia, they used to come and do C-check here. Yeah. When you tell people some of these stories, they find it difficult to believe. So that imagine Ethiopia, clearly one of the best airlines in the world now. We are talking about top 10 airlines in the world. Ethiopia will figure prominently. If Boeing decides to build a new plane, they will be among the people who ask for the highest number of units. They used to do C-check here in Nigeria. So a country that evidently lost its glory, now their airlines, their airplanes, they go and do their C-check in France and other places, even our presidential jets. I used to belong to a platform that tracks the movement of airplanes when I was in the Premier there. Airplanes doing these C-checks. I will know when they brought in, when they bring in our own presidential jet. I can see, okay, and when it will be released. After the C-check. They programmed all of these things. The point that I'm making is, yes, something went wrong, they seized the presidential jet. I'm saying that if we were able to do the C-check here, would it have been necessary to go to France, for example? But the major issue, just as the minister said, you must understand, you must know what you are doing. You must understand how to do this kind of foreign deals to ensure that you do not leave any gap. And the foreign office has to be involved so that when problems arise, they can also help. They will bring people who are skillful at negotiation and help you out. Because at the end of the day, It's the matter is an Ogun State matter, but it is the federal government that has been embarrassed, because I saw what attracted me first to the story was the criticism by Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi attacking the federal government. But in the real sense of the word, this is not the fault of the federal government. And Tuga, the minister, is saying, look, they didn't even tell us about this. Since Ogun State have been pushing to have this matter resolved, they should have been working with the federal government. That is the point. And you don't go into deals, international deals, as a subnational without, even World Bank. I know that World Bank will insist that every loan that a state government must be guaranteed by the federal government, because that's who they recognize. So you want to do a deal, you should get the federal government involved. That is the structure. That is the right thing to do, instead of having a situation in which the federal government gets embarrassed.
All right, thank you so much, Vikio. Asikian, let me come to you. Do you think if past governors of Ogun State had done their due diligence, had investigate properly, we may not be where we are today? Because if you listen to if you read the statement released by Governor Mosu, it says there were claims and counterclaims, and Shonfu International Investments was appointed as interim zone manager. And they later discovered that information and claims volunteered by the Chinese company were tissues of lies.
We have to establish something. What we are dealing with is not personality, but what is known in law as contractual agreements. Okay. Those are fundamental. That is the whole contention here. In law, what we call a valid contract is a contract that is signed, sealed, and delivered. Until you meet those three obligations, then it cannot be called a valid contract. And when it comes to contracts between organizations, companies, states, most often than not, there is what is called arbitration clause. The arbitration clause, what it means that in case there's dispute between two parties, how do we resolve it? Arbitration is just one out of the three, so many fundamental issues that arises from what we call ADR. ADR is known as alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. What that means is that if you and I we're having issues based on what we have agreed, instead of us heading to Lagos High Court, can we just sit down one-on-one and resolve it? So that we save the time of the court, we save our time, and we also save cost. Now, this contract we are talking about, I believe must have had an arbitration clause. And that is why I believe some people are not saying the truth, including probably the former governors of Ogun State. I want them to publish the arbitration clause that was entered with this company, because that arbitration clause will tell you step by step if anybody contravenes this contract. And let me tell you this, so that our viewers will also know. In arbitration, there are several stages. I've been seeing so many people, so many lawyers talking, even senior advocates of Nigeria. That you are a senior advocate of Nigeria does not make you an arbitrator. There are two different things. Okay. I am a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, United Kingdom. And it's not all arbitrators that are lawyers. And all lawyers are not arbitrators. Okay. It is only those. So you can be a senior advocate, but if you don't know the nitty-gritty about arbitration, you cannot mediate in issues like this. Okay. The AGF is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. Same with Festus Kiyamu and some others. Now, in that clause, when you establish arbitration clause, there's something fundamental things you have to agree. One, if there's a dispute, for you to start arbitration, both parties must have members that will be nominated to be part of that arbitration. Both parties, okay. the A and B. Then there will be a chief arbitrator, somebody who will be like an arbiter. Before that, we can agree.
Person has to be neutral?
Yes, must be neutral. And for that person to be the arbitrator, both parties must agree that they accept him. Okay. And because of that, both parties must also agree that whatever the arbitrator states is going to be the final. Both of you will agree. Okay. I think we need to understand some of these issues. So that when I see people dropping up and saying all sorts of stuff, they don't know how this thing works. So now I want to believe. That's why I said I want to see the arbitration clause. For them to
I think that increasingly, foreign entities prefer not to have such disputes resolved within the Nigerian system.
That's when the next one
is an issue of trust.
Yes, that's the next one I'm going to. I've given you 3. Then then the last one normally what will normally count is the jurisdiction where you are going to have the arbitration. Most of you will also agree where, in case of dispute, where the arbitration is going to take place. Just like BKO said, most often than not, it's always outside the court. When it's always between external entities, mostly it's between internal entities, of course. If it's a Nigerian company versus a Nigerian company.
You know, there's something that I always say. People who are saying, all these discourse, they should dismiss them, they should run them out of town, they are useless. They do not know that the penal fee agreed in the case of that the penal fee is high enough to get the government to simply push back and wait rather than say, okay, we send you packing. I think over time people have come to the conclusion that whether in terms of concessioning or whatever, we don't honor obligations. And for that reason, do you remember Mavis?
Yes, now, Mavis, of course.
That set up equipment at the airport for radar coverage of the country. And you know that suddenly they just chased them away. So many people have come to see us as people who don't honor
contracts. So that is let me quickly conclude on this. So that is the issue. So if the jurisdiction is beyond Nigeria, I saw where the former governor say, "Oh, they went to Nigerian court, they tried to get it," because at the end of it, they feel that they will not get the kind of reprieve they want from Nigerian courts. That is why they go internationally. I saw him say that, the National Assembly tried to come in, the president. It is not within, it has nothing to do with the presidency or National Assembly. It's a contractual agreement. Now, what has happened is that they must have met on arbitration, and certain must have agreed. Let me tell you, before that this thing can go to tribunal, there must have been a judgment, arbitration judgment. A tribunal is not the first point of call. It is only when you now dispute what the arbitrators or what the arbitrations are agreed on that you now move to the next level. If you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is where they move on to the arbitration panel, chaired by the Supreme Court in UK, Supreme Court judge in the UK. And a judgment was given in March 2021. Ask yourself, what have we been doing between 2021? Now, this thing did not start with the Tinubu administration. Now, it has nothing to do with Tinubu administration.
No. This
thing predated Tinubu administration. It is
only 2007.
2007 that this thing started. Now, they gave the judgment. The Ogun State government kept quiet. Whoever was in charge. And let me put this.
So they were making moves of
let me put it.
Not that Abiodun knew that matter was the governor Abiodun. They were making moves on their own to have the matter resolved.
Let me bring this final angle to it. And that also brings there's a lot of politics in this issue. And with I said it time and time again, government is a continuum. If Governor Benga Daniel signed a contract with a foreign firm, irrespective whether it's good or not. Yes. Whether it's good or not, whoever took over from him,
if it's good for the people,
you continue with it. If the areas you are not satisfied with, you try to be able to renegotiate. Not that you totally throw it away. I heard somebody government saying, what they did was just a peripheral fence and at the place, and that does not stand in arbitration. A contract is a contract. So what we should be looking at now, how do we be able to go and defend?
No, the good thing is that the federal government is involved. They are coming together to resolve this issue, even if they were disinterested initially. Now that their property has been attached
to it.
They have to find a way to resolve it. So, in the end, it will look like the Chinese firm got us here. So, how do you then come out of the what's it called? What do they call it in wrestling? Choke slam. The choke slam. How do you come out of the choke slam?
I did last night.
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
No? How do you come out of it? You have to, lawyers on both sides have to sit down and then find all of what I'm reading that the patrimony of our state, this is international law.
All right, gentlemen, we'll continue to monitor this ongoing developments. Let's move on quickly. The report of looting of sensitive documents relating to the corruption cases filed by the Kano state government against the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, is eliciting mixed reactions. The APC national chairman has described the alleged looting of the sensitive documents relating to the corruption cases filed against him as comical and baseless. Ganduje noted that the allegations, which offends the sensibility of Nigerians, are attempts by the state government to divert the attention of the federal government from investigating and prosecuting the masterminds of the hunger protest that became violent in Kano. He maintained that the sponsors of the violence must be brought to justice to serve as deterrents to others. Sikia, let me allow you to start this one.
Well, it's very funny the way we do things in Nigeria. And most often than not, I always say that at times the way we do things in Nigeria, it reminds me of Charlie Boy Show. If you remember Charlie Boy Show, on Charlie Boy Show, anything can happen. You cannot just predict what will happen in the next edition, and that is what is happening in Nigeria. Because this accusation and counter-accusation by the government of Kano State and the chairman of APC, national chairman, is neither here nor there. For me, and this raises fundamental issues. And that's why I will always commend the government of Lagos State, starting from the time of Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, now president. So I still refer to me as governor, former governor. One of the fundamental revolution he did in Lagos State was the digitalization of the Lagos judiciary system and the courts. Part of the problem with the red law, and that's why I never pray in my life to be a judge in Nigeria. And it's not that because I don't want to, but because becoming a judge in Nigeria is so rigorous and a thing to do. You go to courts, so many courts in Nigeria, and you see a case going on. Do you know that the judge will write down every single word of what you say?
In 2024.
In 2024. Some senior advocates of Nigeria will hold you to about 3-4 hours arguing a case, and the judge is expected to put down everything in handwriting. Where in the world is that done? At the end of it all, he also writes his judgment, and so he has to collate everything. But what happened in Lagos that most of the courts were digitalized. Court cases, court files, everything has been stored within the system. You know, that at the click of a button, you can always follow up. Now, where am I going to? We are talking about files. Oh, the file that was being used to prosecute has been stolen. It was taken away. It was burnt. It was looted. If those documents, all those issues we are digitalized, there will always be a backup within the system. So all you just need to, you don't even need a file. In most jurisdictions, people don't carry files again. It's in the digital world. With the click of a computer, all the information you need, if you understand what I'm trying to say, it will come out. So this issue of, they've stolen the file, what are we not saying? Is the government saying, the Kano State saying that, okay, with that, so the case is gone forever. And the man has come out to say, I have nothing to do with it. How can you accuse me of this thing? So that is why I think that this brings a lot of problem. And it also goes back to our judicial system. And this is where I think the new CJN, who is coming in, Justice Kekereekun, has a lot to do. The Ministry of Justice, federal and state, have a lot to do. The AGF have a lot to do. And that will also be saying that there should be a separation of office between the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister for Justice or Commissioner of Justice in the state, We need to make sure that all our courts are digitalized so that this is fundamental issues does not raise its head again. It's shameful. So, okay, apart from that, so all other criminals also, they are probably in the prison and other cases where those files have been destroyed or burnt. What happened to those cases? Are we dismissing them? Or are they starting all the way? This is quite unfortunate. That's my personal opinion about this issue.
All right, gentlemen. Bikil, all right, let me go to Bikil. Let me have you react to this.
You see, since this shameful protests happened in Kano, it's not even protest, it's looting. Because we make a mistake of calling looters protesters. I don't want to be found making that mistake or saying a nationwide protest when more than a quarter of our country did not protest. So it's not nationwide in nature. The whole of the Southeast, no protest. More than a quarter of our country, states in our country, more than a quarter of those states didn't protest. So it's not nationwide. I like a TV station that called it August protest. That's captioning it the right way. So as journalists, we have to know what we are doing. When that protest happened, the governor was one of the people who said, oh, let protests happen, he will be ready to receive protesters. If not for the police, they will have overrun the government house. They went there. It was the police that pushed them back. They were keen on looting the government house. The supermarkets, the business premises along the road to the government house were looted to the ground. Now, some elements within the state government have been trying to blame Bapa Danagundi, the new DG of National Productivity Center, one of the big mobilizers among the politicians in Kano. They've been trying to blame him for the protests. You know? On the side of the APC too, they too have been blaming the governor that, were you not the one encouraging them protests? Can you see what has happened now? When that protest happened, I talked about the extent of looting. These boys went to the Kano State High Court, the headquarters. They looted anything on site, including money that were taken from kidnappers, taken as exhibit from kidnappers. They looted everything.
Okay.
Weapons that were recovered from kidnappers, they also looted.
All right, Vicky, let me pause you for a moment while we take a commercial break. I'll be right back.
And cable, great quality, now with the new look.
Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I've been hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Chris Kende Wando. Okay, before we went to that break, you were making a point about the aftermath of the looting that happened in Kano State.
Yes, and I said that exhibits recovered from kidnapped suspects were looted in the attack on the judiciary complex, the courtrooms. So, naturally, if they ransacked everywhere, destroyed whatever they can lay their hands on, I won't be surprised to realize that some documents that they had in respect of the Ganduje case had been looted. But I can see what the Kano State government officials are trying to do. The propagandists in that government are trying to blame Ganduje and his people for the looting. They are trying to say, okay, you have been attacking us, that we encourage protests, and protests led to wanton looting. Okay, the files in respect of your case are missing, meaning that you must have engineered the theft of those documents. How about other things that were looted in the judiciary complex? Because these boys simply went there trying to lay their hands on anything they can find. They also partly looted the Adubako secretariat in Kano. The Adubako secretariat is like the state secretariat. They just named it after one of their first generation governors. So these were people who were looting even mosque. They looted mosque, carted away rugs.
Yeah, there are videos.
So was it also Ganduje that arranged the looting of mosque and other places? You see, you can say all you like about a man, but in a situation that we found ourselves, whereby these boys were simply running riots, they attacked the court premises, anything could have been stolen, anything could have been destroyed. And in any case, just as he said, if you decided to digitize your processes,
it won't be
those things
conversation.
Will have been saved in the cloud. So if you like, go and steal the physical documents, you will still have the documents with which you can continue the prosecution. I know that in terms of exhibits, direct exhibits taken from criminals who are on trial, you will not be able to do anything about that. The money that they recovered from kidnappers, another exhibits, including guns and all that they took away, there's nothing anyone can do about that. But you can't tell me that you did not have multiple copies of the papers, of the court papers of, in respect of the trial of...
Babike, what does this say about Kano political class and the impact of all of this back and forth on
many people in Kano today? Let me tell you, many people in Kano will be happy to dispense with the two big men in Kano politics, Kwankwaso and Ganduje, because the people are tired. The people want peace, and they are blaming two individuals for the fact that there is no peace.
Will there be an end to this tussle?
They've chosen not to forgive one another. I said at that time that it will never happen.
Yes, I remember.
People can see that they can't work together. You know, so it's unfortunate the way everything gets politicized between these two contending groups. If not, somebody was made DG, you are now accusing him of arranging for people to flood the streets and loot in the name of protest. I know that you cannot, that kind of you can't sustain that kind of argument that, oh, he's the one who, they are just, you know, blaming one another. There is a contestation between them for who can come up with the best allegation against another person in respect of this protest and or looting. And now the Ganduje group is saying, oh, it's because they know federal government is investigating what happened. They are trying to divert attention. The good thing is more than 1,000 people who protested are being tried, who protested in inverted commas. They actually went to loot. They are being tried. So let the trial go on. And I know that some of them have returned some of the things that they stole, but they still have to be taught.
Investigated, absolutely. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our next conversation. Fuel scarcity in some states in Nigeria continues to linger, posing a major challenge for transporters and commuters. Following recent queues in states like Niger, Nasarawa, Kaduna, and Abuja, the federal government has threatened to revoke the license of any fuel marketer or retailer found hoarding petrol. The federal government also frowned against the legal sale of petrol in containers, stating that such acts pose huge safety and health concerns for Nigerians. CK, this is not the first time we're hearing such, but people continue to do whatever they like.
This is not the first time. Part of the reason why I came in late is because of the huge way traffic
out there
on the road now. If you are coming in from the Third Mainland Bridge, heading towards there, from the Ogudu, Aziz, to Alakbere, to the toll gate, is completely blocked because fuel scarcity seems to have resurfaced in Lagos. It just coming, yes, long queues, yes, long queues of, and this have been happening even in Abuja longer than this. To the extent that if you get to the central area, Abuja, opposite the NMPC headquarters, there's a fuel station there. There have been consistent long queue of for fuel directly opposite NMPC headquarters in Abuja. And the question you ask yourself, what is NMPC doing about it? So when I hear the issue of people hoarding petrol and the rest of them, I continue to wonder. Hoarding comes when there is shortfall. It's always like that. Hoarding always comes when there is shortfall. When you have enough.
And when we hoard.
Nobody is going to hoard anything. I'm telling you. And I have said it, and it was here I said it. And I gave a classical good example of what happened when I was in the music industry. Part of the problem we had when I was the A&R manager, artist and promotions manager of Sony Music, the biggest music company in Nigeria in the 90s, is that we came to realize that consistently we're having a lot of copyright issues. People reproducing our works. By the time we release Lagbaja, one of our artists, by the time we release it, you just realize that we just release certain number. But by the time you go to Mary, that roadland stretch, you get to Alaba, get it. The music is all over the place. And the artist says, oh, his music is everywhere. You can be rest assured that 90% of those works are pirated. And we now did our research. And research showed that it's because of what we are not flooding the market with enough and having enough retail assets. And that is what is happening. Now the question to ask. First and foremost, we talk about people that were issued the licenses. There were some people that were issued with licenses for refineries, modular refineries, and the rest of them. And out of there are so many that were given, the question you ask yourself, how many of them are able to put that to use? That is one. The second part will remain, if they are not putting it to use, what are the reasons? Okay. Because I cannot just collect a license, I just keep it in my portfolio. Then definitely something fundamental. Have we addressed those issues that make them to not to be able to build those refineries as they are? Now we are having fuel scarcity. We have removed subsidies from petroleum. The excuses we were giving before was that our petrol products were so underpriced that we were having them being shipped to other parts of the country, other parts of the world. In fact, the custom CG at the point came to debunk the erroneous belief and the statistics that we are giving that is it about 64? How many millions were they say we were consuming then? If you remember vividly, they said that we are consuming on a monthly basis, which the CG of custom came to say no, it's not possible. If you remember vividly,
they even claim that we are consuming 101 million liters.
That is what I'm saying. And they say we were consuming. Then I think it took the effort of the CG to say, no, it's not possible now. That
it's not even
tenable.
It's not tenable. There is no way. He said, where are the roads through which
the trailers will pass through to move with these things? So there's something fundamental. The major importer of petrol products in Nigeria today is the NNPCL. So they have to tell us why we're having this. That is one. Three, is the issue of the refineries that have been promising. I remember vividly, the last time we were here, and I was big on this. When the minister and the GMD of NNPCL told us that the refinery will start working in June. We said it closed here. I remember that say August. We said it here that there was a Yoruba this night. I said Lori Iro. Somebody asked me how I said because we have shifted the post so many times until today nobody is telling us, and we've been told now it will be. I don't know
this
when.
This is the 6th.
The 6th time.
I don't think we have a new date.
The 6th time, and nobody is telling us when that refinery. We are talking of just Port Harcourt. We've not talked of Wario. We've not talked of Kaduna. There are 2 refineries in Port Harcourt. And with the promise that's been made since December. And so people are sitting there in the offices and telling us that they're very patriotic. They're very, very patriotic. They're giving everything. If you are not able to do the job you are appointed, why don't you just do away with these people and get some other people who can do the job? What does it take to be the GMD of NNPCL and make sure that a country that produces crude oil in large quantum cannot have petroleum products, does not have a single refinery? Even the one that somebody have decided to build, we cannot even supply enough crude for him to be able to service. There is a big fundamental problem.
Thank you. Sikia says there are fundamental problems, but this petrol scarcity every 3 months, I mean, despite there's been several regulations in the last 1 year, which Nigerians expect should, give us some respite. But we're here today, still queuing, still looking out for fuel.
This one, I think this one was caused largely by the protest. Usually, when supply is disrupted, it takes a while before things can normalize. Things will normalize. So, and they've explained. Then you see long queues. I don't believe that there is fuel scarcity at this time, but the prices vary. There are places where you just drive in, you buy fuel. At Ojodo Abiodun yesterday, I drove in, there were not more than 4 of us. I bought fuel because my wife's car was taken to the mechanic and they brought it back empty. It's like the person who even drove it didn't even look at the fuel gauge. They brought it back empty. He would go to church. And she said she could not find and then said, okay, I know where we can see fuel without queue. It's about pricing largely. Where you see that the queue is very long, the price is way lower. There are places where you buy petrol maybe about 620 per liter. Some will sell as high as 800. As high as 800. So you go to NNPC, for example, or Bovas. Bovas is a big depot owner as well as a retailer. So her prices are usually lower than those of other people. So you go elsewhere, they tell you to bring 750 per liter. So, it's a deregulated environment, so where we are no longer having uniformity in terms of pricing. So, but people want to save money. They will queue, no matter how long the queue is, and that's what I see in Abuja too. They will queue to be very long. That difference means a lot to them. They don't want to go to where they will be told to come and pay for a liter at 800. And then our neighbors, the extent of smuggling is probably higher now than before. There is no week that you don't see custom seizing hundreds of jerry cans of petrol that they are trying to ship across to Cameroon, to our neighbors Chad and Niger Republic. Because despite the fact that in Lagos, for example, you can buy petrol at less than 600, in those border communities, they are prepared to buy at 1,200 naira per liter. So some of these unscrupulous marketers are already diverting some products to the borders. Customs, they've complained about this, that, look, we have to monitor trucks as they come out of the loading bay. We have to monitor, they have to put trackers on them because some of them are ending up at the border because it's cheaper. That's why the price has gone up in Nigeria. It's still way cheaper than the amount is sold in those countries around us. It's just like Iran. Iran, their fuel is cheaper than those of their neighbors. And they spend a lot of money trying to combat fuel smuggling. So we find ourselves in that kind of situation. Fuel smuggling is on the rise now, no doubt about it. And I want to believe that some of them, especially outside in Lagos and some of the border communities, a lot of diversion is going on. That is what we should really deal with. I don't know about threats. If you have evidence that somebody is diverting products to the borders or hoarding product, refusing to sell when he has products, because some of these people, I've seen the governor of Borno State go to a filling station and he said he wanted to see their tank. Yes, and they gave him a peg and he dipped it into the tank and he discovered that they had petrol. In anger, he called the Okada riders in the area. He said, "Koya, come and take fuel for free." Shebi, you said you don't have fuel. That's what Zulum did. So these people, a lot of them are hoarding. It's just unfortunate that the regulator doesn't even have enough people to properly monitor these guys. Otherwise, they will discover that a lot of the people who are claiming that they don't have fuel, they actually have. They are waiting for things to degenerate so that they can make more money. Because the more scarce the thing becomes, the more money they are going to make. It's a terrible sector in terms of transparency. Is almost nil, and the people who are running the sector, they need to do a lot better. Nigeria shouldn't have a product that has become like a cost to it. One of the 7 biggest crude producers in the world, yes, without a functional refinery.
How exhausted? Yeah, let me put it. How exhausted are you that you have had to postpone the resurrection, quote unquote?
This one, I've not even heard from them that they postponed. I just saw a story, a Punch story, and it wasn't attributed to anybody. You know, at my level now as a journalist, I cannot just jump on something. They didn't attribute that to anybody. I'm not saying the story is not true. I'm not saying it's not a product of investigation. But till now, they've not come out to officially say, okay, we told you August, but the way it's going now,
I said first week in August. This is August 18th. This is Sunday, August 18th.
You know, I don't know.
No, BK,
I don't know what's
to that too. If they also read that story and it's not true,
you
expect them to have also come out to make a statement
that deal?
Yes, to say that what
that means they are struggling.
That means they are struggling. If you understand, this is communication. Our job now. This is our job. If for whatever
maybe they are even the ones who
planted the story just to give us a soft landing. It's a shame. And they just it's just
to prepare the minds of
Nigerians.
Look, so we don't know. I want, I've challenged Mele Kyari many times. He's entitled to even see me as an enemy now, because if you keep letting your country down, there's no way I can be happy with you. Give us a definitive time. You are an expert. You have experience in this sector. Give us a definitive time when we can say the Port Harcourt refinery will kick off.
All right.
And then the most modern refinery that we have, the Warri refinery, when is it going to kick off? You should be able to tell us, and then we'll go to bed, convinced that you will meet that chosen deadline, because none of us forced him to say, okay, this is the time. You on your own, you will come There was a time the minister came here. After the minister spoke, we saw that the GMD too put validation to what the minister said. But since that time, the refinery has not officially...
This we are talking, as we round up, we are even talking about this. There was a statement credited to him during the Buhari's government.
When he said that,
there
will be no importation.
When he said that all the refineries are going to war, there will be no
importation.
There will
be no importation.
That was during the Buhari's...
If you Google it,
you see it.
That Nigeria will be a net exporter of refined petroleum.
God bless you.
We're still here.
So
I will continue to wait.
What's going on?
Gentlemen, let's move on. One of the primary functions of the National Peace Committee, headed by a former head of state, retired General Abdulsalami Abubakar, is to support and uphold the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections in Nigeria. While presented its 106-page report of the 2023 general election titled Nigeria's Pursuit of Electoral Compliance, National Peace Committee 2023 General Election Reports to the public, the committee revealed that it was pressured to ask the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to either halt collation of results or cancel the 2023 presidential election. This was based on the 25% threshold for the FCT. It highlighted trust deficit, low political awareness, and lack of electoral compliance as reasons for low turnout of voters during elections in the country. BKO. So going by the rule of the NPC, are you surprised by this revelation? Does NPC have such powers to call for a delay in the collation of results or cancellation?
No, they do not have power, but they can advise. They can advise. We've seen them advise, give advice on national issues in the past. And because these are prominent national leaders who also have international standing, because you see people like General Abdulsalami, they've been sent abroad to monitor elections. They know what it means to have electoral integrity. They've done it in other countries. They've monitored the elections in other countries. So it's not new to them. Now, given Abdulsalami's standing as a former president and the person who midwifed the democracy that we are enjoying today, was the one who willingly left office. He chose not to remain there for so long. Others will have been postponing the transition, just to be able to stay in office longer than necessary. Gawan was accused of not even planning to hand over power to civilians, and you saw IBB several times. He will change his mind about handing over, and that actually destroyed his reputation. Especially after the June 12th debacle. There were all kinds of pressures that came at that time. The people who felt that their candidate didn't win the election and the election was not transparent as far as they are concerned. For me, we can't have a perfect election in Nigeria at this time. It's going to take a while. Even in the U.S., we saw what happened in the year 2000, Florida recount and all that. So even their own elections too are not perfect. So, but there were people who felt that the man who won the election had to be stopped. The issue of 25% in Abuja was brought up. And some of us were arguing that it's illogical to say that a very small part of our country, that if you do not win, if you do not earn 25% there, even if you have it in 35 states, that you are not qualified to be president. We told them that there is no parallel in the world. There's nowhere democracy is being practiced where somebody is required to have 25% in one state Otherwise, it
can't be president.
It can't be president. You know, that was there. There were also people who piled pressure on the military. A group of deluded young people who have no sense of history to know that the worst civilian regime is actually better than the best military regime. They went to the Ministry of Defense to beg soldiers to take over power. We saw this, we spoke about it. You know? The vice presidential candidate of Labour Party, Baba Ahmed, went as far as granting an interview where he told judges to stay away from inauguration. So all kinds of things happened. But remember, Obasanjo was the first prominent Nigerian to complain about the conduct of the 2023 election. He did a press conference in which he complained at length about the way the election went. But he didn't stop there. Other people were piling pressure in the hope that INEC would stop the collation of results. Even while the collation was on, I remember that right there in the hall, some opposition elements were demanding that the collation should stop. But within that same hall, there were those who then said, no, the process has to continue. Because the INEC chairman must complete his process. People can then go to court. So I'm not surprised that they received pressures. I remember Goodluck Jonathan even said that after the 2015 election, that people were sending pictures of underage voters in northern Nigeria. And they were saying, look, you are the president. Our party is being rigged out of power. You need to do something. But Goodluck Jonathan chose to just allow the matter to slide. Not that he didn't see evidence of irregularities, but he felt that, look, whatever the extent of irregularities, the Nigerian people have spoken, and that his ambition must not lead to loss of lives. So he called Muhammadu Buhari and considered defeat. So pressures will come. It's like, look, you want to win an election and you can see that somebody is ahead. And you have every reason to believe that the election was far from being perfect. Of course, you do your best to see whether the process can be truncated for a fresh election, which may now favor you. That was what I think happened at that time. And I agree with them that the voter turnout was not impressive. There is a lot that we need to do by way of sensitization, even good governance. Good governance can encourage people to vote. When people see that the government does not appear to be there for them, they will be reluctant to come out and vote. You know, so there is, I hope that in future elections we'll be able to record a higher turnout. But if hunger continues to stalk the land, if the people do not feel excited that, there's a future for them, a lot of them won't bother to come out and vote. Popular leaders, the people on their own come out to validate popular leaders by voting for them. Look at the last US election. Both candidates were very popular. It split the country into two, and the turnout was impressive. So I believe that good governance across the board can also encourage our people to show interest in voting. But even at that, it's very rare in any country to have voter turnout exceed 60%. It's usually very difficult.
Okay. So another element addressed by NPC is a significant trust deficit and voter apathy. Biki has talked about the impact of good governance, but INEC continues to say it will continue to do its best. But for you, where does the rest of the responsibility lie?
I personally don't condone that. And the fundamental issue raised by the committee is the issue of being pressured by certain individuals or groups. These are either statesmen as we are, as they are. I personally would have expected them to give us a clue of some of those or the groups that were pressurizing them to cancel.
You called them elders.
No, I'm waiting. Listen, let me tell you. Until we continue to deal with bad behavior, people will continue to do what they do. So if they are fundamental, that's why we call them elder statesmen. For goodness sake, the president of the United States of America tried to disrupt the election, the last election. He did everything humanly possible through his speech, his action, and personal intervention to make sure that the process did not do. And what happened? Today, most of his supporters that were identified are languishing in jail. He, as the former president, was put on trial. Okay. So, if you understand what I'm saying, that is what I'm saying. Yeah. That is what I'm saying. So, if that book or whatever that does not contain names or groups, then Nigeria will not take them seriously. That's my personal opinion. We need to know who are those people that put pressure on them. Because putting pressure on is, you are talking of truncating the process truncating that is more like you are asking for a coup, civilian coup, quote and unquote. That is what was. So if it had happened, what would they say? That is number one. Two.
But if they gave the advice, INEC is obligated to not
adhere to it.
No,
INEC has the power.
But now I'm going. Now let me take it issue by issue. It's talk of based on it highlighted trust deficit, very, very fundamental. If there's a mistrust within the system, then whatever, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. If people distrust the system, they won't believe in it. That is perfect. You are talking of low political awareness. I don't even want to go there because that is for who are supposed to do that. That is INEC and political parties. That is their own business. Lack of electoral compliance. That is, I underline that. Because I remember vividly that INEC, after the election, came out to hit itself and just say, we have done excellently well. And some of us still believe, I still believe personally, that INEC could have done better than it did. And what that brings is that when people believe that their votes don't count, I'm looking at across us, etc. I'm not talking of a particular, not the presidential, not the... Because if you look at the last election, you will see that, unlike in other places, over 80% of those results were disputed. People were in court and still in court. And a presidential election was held, and other regional elections were held in South Africa. Till today, you did not see a single person go to court to challenge those results. You know why? Because it was transparent. Something happened in the United Kingdom.
That's debatable.
That's the No, wait, let me tell you. I'm coming. An election just happened in the United Kingdom where a sitting party, prime minister, was voted out of office. No single person. There'll be this. These are facts. You can fact check this.
They used to go. Let me tell you. Yeah. They used to challenge electoral outcomes in UK until they then began to deal decisively with people who are frivolously challenging electoral outcomes. So on their own, they know that because look, in our country, somebody will lose an election. He knows that he lost. Yet, he would think that the courts can give it back to him because they've seen people who didn't win election reclaim it through the courts. There are many reasons why we have litigation. There are some litigations that lawyers will simply tell you, look, let's try, we may succeed. It's not as if some people didn't know that they lost the election. No. Look at Kwara, for example. The governor overwhelmingly defeated the candidates that contested the election with him. Even from the presidential election, it was clear that the people of Kwara were heading in one direction. Did they stop litigation?
And that's why we now hear abuse of court processes.
Whatever happens, they will go to court.
Biko, let me put it on pause. First and foremost, and that is why some people want to win by all costs and ask you to go to court and challenge. But let us take good example.
No, what I'm saying is somebody who lost election, he knows that he can't win there.
No,
there are people they know that they lost, but they still go to court.
You know where I'm going to? Look at what happened in 2015. Because, good Lord Jonathan, look at the process. Despite what you said, that, well, the process might not be totally, but he felt that, well, the will of the people have spoken. Do you know the action of good Lord Jonathan reduced litigation in the 2025 election to about 60 to 70%? Most people came to realize that this election was free and fair.
No, because we were using the card reader for the first time.
And they
totally
agree
for the first time. And so, the card reader helped to improve electoral integrity. But you see, some people are convinced that even if they lose, the courts can still give them back. I'm telling you the truth. They will go and try to bribe judges and all that.
The only place
lawyers.
I didn't see them mention is the judiciary. That's where I wanted to land. They mentioned all other issues. They did not make any mention of the role played by the judiciary. And because we also must try to look at these issues moving forward. But I think it is good what they have done and what they've been doing. But the final one is that even the part being signed by most of the gladiators, whenever we have election,
they don't abide by it.
That's one of the major challenges. All right, gentlemen, we need to move on. The term almajiri was originally used to describe male children who migrated from their homes in search of Islamic knowledge. But today, the concept has been expanded to mean young children left to fend for themselves and without formal education. Speaking about the recent hunger protests across the country, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has described almajiri as a time bomb. Governor Sule noted that the majority of the people who came out for the protest in his state were minors who had no knowledge of what they did. The governor called for urgent intervention from state governors to nip the problem in the bud. The governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, also expressed concern over the almajiri syndrome. Let's hear from Governor Zulum, and we'll be right back.
In what could have been a major disaster, attempts were made by these hoodlums on several occasions on Thursday to attack the Maiduguri emergency gas power plant. However, it was abated by our gallant security forces. To those who seek to exploit the current situation by engaging in criminal activities under the guise of protest, I urge you to reconsider your actions. Theft and vandalism only harm our community. Let us express our grievances through peaceful and lawful means, respecting the rights and property of others. Violence has no place in our society, and I implore all citizens to reject any call to arms or acts of aggression. Let us embrace dialogue, understanding, and tolerance as we work together to build a brighter future for Borno State. Protecting the lives and properties is the main responsibility of any government. Therefore, as we lift the curfew on Saturday, 3rd August 2024, any person that engages in looting or violent activities will be dealt with accordingly. Over 95% of those participated in Thursday's so-called protests were children under 14 years. Most of them do not even know why they are protesting. A 6-year-old child carrying a placard is amazing. It must have been directed by someone. Most of those children are not from Borno State. While you are not discouraging the almajiri education, children must, however, have their teachers, parents, or guardians looking after them. A situation where thousands of children living in Maiduguri without care from anyone in the name of almajiri must be looked into.
Thank you.
I think the governor of Borno State nailed it. And then the governor of Nasarawa State, the statement that he made was that, gentlemen, as governors of northern Nigeria, let's do the right thing. Let's not say, oh, I'm a Muslim. Then he said, what happened during this last protest? It's like a big warning sign for us that, look, this is a time bomb. You unleash children so young, nobody is taking care of them. They are far away from their parents. Of course, when there is crisis, they are going to be seen everywhere, putting fuel in the fire. That was what we saw. And two governors cannot be wrong. Mm-hmm. I listened to what Zulum said just the day after the first day of protest. Now the governor of Nasarawa has said the same thing, that this is a time for us to look at this issue and take a decision. I don't think that we should wait further, because just as the governor of Borno said, more than 95% of the so-called protesters were children under 14 years of age who cannot even explain why they were doing it,
what they did.
Why they were protesting. Now, the governor of Nasarawa State also said that he saw some of them in Lafia, he stopped them, that they could not even explain why they were on the streets. Yet, these are the people looting, these are the people, look at some kids. Can you see? Were they supposed to be part of this protest? You know? Look at, there was something, I read the story about a child involved in this almajiri thing. He said, we will go to beg at 6 a.m. and return at 7 a.m. Go out again at 11 a.m. and return for prayers at 2 p.m. By 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., we are back again on the streets begging. That's nearly the whole day, just begging. And whenever there is crisis, because these boys, nobody fends for them, they just start unleashing violence on everyone. So there was a plan to better take care of these children. The governors of northern Nigeria must find a way. They must find a way. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to send children that young to go and learn Islamic knowledge, Quranic education. Because even the Holy Prophet said you must be committed to seeking knowledge, and that if you need to travel all the way to China, you must travel just to seek knowledge. So it's a good thing to seek knowledge. It's a good thing to have knowledge. But I believe that they have to find a way to do this in a way that takes good care of these children, that doesn't appear like, oh, they are abandoned.
Obike, do you think they really know what to do to address this problem? Because if Governor Sule says in 2020 a decision was taken, but it could not work.
No, if there is the political will, it will work.
Okay.
If there is political will, it will work. I was in Jigawa State during the time of Sule Lamido, and he challenged us that you will not find a single person on the streets begging. God is my judge. On that day, we moved around the state capital. We didn't see anybody begging.
Oh.
We didn't see anybody begging. Sule Lamido was a fantastic governor, you know, and a very principled man. After all these years, he has refused to leave the PDP. There was a time someone said, came up with a story that Sule Lamido had left the PDP. I said, the Sule Lamido that I know will not leave PDP. We were arguing in the newsroom. I said, just wait. This thing will soon be confirmed to be a lie. And that was what happened. My boss, was there. I told him, I said, Oga, he will not leave PDP. And he didn't leave PDP. You know? So he told me, you will not find anybody begging on our street. And I didn't see them. And I wasn't the only one. At that time, Professor Farouk Perogi, we were in Jigawa at the same time. We didn't see any beggar. It is possible to take them off the streets and still give them the Quranic education that they cherish. Instead of leaving them to the elements, you know, in a state of neglect and all that. That's the point. The state governors have to come together, get the ulamas involved, get brilliant academics involved to look at a modern way of dealing with this issue. And I believe it's possible. If the willpower is there, if they all agree. What happened to the almajiri schools? You know? Are they functioning? Did they complete the project?
So according to reports, the schools remain in poor condition due to inadequate maintenance, poor state government funding.
Yeah, it's part of
Because limited acceptance by intended beneficiaries.
Because it's the ulamas. That's why I said the ulamas. You cannot achieve your aim if you don't bring those clerics on board. Okay. You must bring the clerics on board. Get them to realize that, look, this is why we are doing this, and it will benefit everyone. And you must register them. Register the clerics. There are some of them who are illegal clerics, just using these boys to go and beg for money. You must also register them. Right. So there are things that they can do. I believe that if the political will is there, they will do it. It's not a big deal. And I know someone like Zulum, you know, it's not somebody that you toy with. If he wants to do something, he's focused, he's extremely stubborn, he's focused, he will do it.
Ezekiel, your reaction?
Yes, thank God that some of the political leaders in the North are seeing what some of us have seen. And I've been talking about for years. On this program last 2 weeks, a fortnight ago, we discussed this issue vis-a-vis the protest and looting that went on in the North. And we discussed and we said that from what the evidence coming up from the North, from this protest, looting, and the rest of them, is the fact that we are sitting on a time bomb. And if nothing is done, that what we've just seen is just a child play compared to what will happen in the nearest future.
Yes.
And the greatest beneficiaries of these youths are the leaders, political leaders in the North. And you ask yourself, because when there is an election in the North, these are the children they mobilize to go and vote. So many of them underage. But after election, they discard them and throw them back on the streets. And I've given instances where I've been to the North several times, from Bauchi to Gombe to Kano and all the rest. If you see the sheer number of these children alone, some of them have not had their bath in 2 weeks. Is that bad? If you come down to come and say you want to buy maybe a loaf of bread or akra, the way they will rush you and probably collect.
They're hungry.
Very, very hungry. And I think that's a deliberate attempt by the leaders in the North to perpetually keep these children in this state so that they can use and manipulate them. And that is why some of them have become fertile land mines for people who engage in all sorts of insecurity to be able to recruit them to engage in some of these things. And so it's good they are speaking up. And talking about, we're talking about, Julo Jonathan came out to say that he built 165 almajiri school in the North.
Invested 15 billion.
I invested over 15 billion. No matter whatever you say, whether the school is imposted, I will tell you, I'll give you a practical example. In 1979, the state of school system in Lagos was so bad when Alhaji Lateef Jakonde took over. We had the morning, afternoon, and evening session. What did he do? He built what was known as Jakonde schools. What looks like pottery houses. You remember those?
They were abusing him.
And they were abusing him. Most of the beneficiaries of those pottery schools are our leaders.
They are doing well.
Most of them are senators. Most of them are governors. Most of them are House of Representatives. Some of them are. So when you say the school, the state of the school that he built is not in the best state. What is the state of the
quality of instruction
that is it.
Not
it's not the quality. The building doesn't make the school. So I hope that this is a big eye opener for the leaders.
I'm happy that at least two strong governors
are already saying it, and I hope that the others, about 16 or 17 of them, will queue into this and make sure something is done. If not,
can't just leave those children.
You can't just leave those children.
You can't look at what Zulum said now. They say a situation in which you live underage children unattended, far away from their parents. They said it's not an ideal situation.
Because this is added to the number of those we also have in the IDP camps. Most of those students, they don't go to school.
We are even talking of out of school children. Are those not out of school?
Look at them.
Look at this little girl. What does this one know about protests? Why was she even among the protesters?
Just look at it. It's so terrible.
And that's
why some of them can go to an ICT. An ICT is just to be supposed to be and loot it.
All right, gentlemen, serious situation there, and we hope that relevant stakeholders find a lasting solution to this. Let's go on a break, and we will be right back. Stay with us, everyone.
This Sunday, from a tiny room in the heart of Mushin in Lagos, Nigeria, to becoming the first African to bag a global award in the city of Birmingham in the United Kingdom, is the story of Daniel Akintola.
I was raised by a virtuous widow mom who gallantly and took pride in wearing rags just for her to be able to afford an after-school tuition.
His nothing to something survival journey to stardom with the All Prime TV invention is a motivation. Join Olawakon as he unravels the genesis of the discovery in his visit to the family house of the tech genius in Mushin.
The glory of today, this is where it all started.
That's on Sunday Specials, where great stories live.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final lap of our conversation tonight. The huge expectations of Nigerians about the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris were cut short as the country left the global showpiece with no medals. This is despite a whopping 12 billion naira investment on its participants. This has prompted an apology from the Minister of Sport, John Kano, who admitted that Nigerians deserved a better representation at the Games. The minister noted that a comprehensive review process has begun to evaluate the readiness of athletes for the Games and improved outcomes in subsequent Games. For this conversation, let's now welcome TVC Sport correspondent, Nian Akiri. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Journalist Hangout on Sunday.
A pleasure to be here.
So, while smaller nations on the continent came home with multiple medals,
interesting,
we came back home with nothing.
Well, you talked about other African countries. When I was walking into the studio, I was on the phone with the Minister of Youth, Gender, Sports and Culture of Botswana, Sumiso Ragare. And we were actually talking about Botswana's exploits at the Games, having an African for the first time, winning the 200 meters and at the Olympic Games, which is huge. Interestingly, also confirmed that 14 athletes represented Botswana at the Games. But hey, by and large, on paper, you may want to say that Nigeria's participation was more or less like a jamboree, where you take a look at medals. But a lot of questions, are begging for answers. Not just an apology on the part of the Minister of Sport. This is not the first time we're experiencing such. The challenge now is, are we ready to fix the solution? Now it's not just about criticism. Are we ready to fix the solution?
Do we recognize that there is a problem?
until we get to that state and tell ourselves the truth, look at one another in the eye and tell ourselves that there is a huge problem. The outcome of the Olympic Games reflects the state of sports in Nigeria. I give an example. In June specifically, I spoke with a few coaches, and I did a story on Nigeria's preparation for the Olympic Games. I spoke with Coach Tony Osheku at the Yaba College of Technology. And Coach Tony also, echoed the fact that he advised the Athletics Federation of Nigeria that Nigeria does not need to present an A-list team at the African Senior Championship in Cameroon. But unfortunately, our biggest athletes were there. From the likes of Tubia Muson, that was when the issue of Ophili also started in the 100 meters event and all that, not running the semifinals and all that. But the Olympic year for every athlete is always different. The Olympic calendar is a year where athletes will select the number of events they want to participate in that calendar year so that you will be 100% fit for the Olympic Games. I take you back to Atlanta 1996. Tony Osheku, the coach of Falila Tukukoya then, said, when Amos Adamu noticed the timing of Falila Tukukoya going into the Olympics, he called him and said, this timing is a medal-winning timing for Nigeria. What must we do to ensure that Falila finishes on the podium? And I told Amos Adamu then, he said, she must not run in all the events building up to the Olympics. Let us select the event she wants to participate in. And, he said, what Amos Adamu said, okay, what must we do now? He said, give her the money for the event. Ben Johnson echoed the same thing. When they broke the 400 meters record, he said there were some events they were inviting him for, some meets they were inviting him for. The money was juicy, but he had to turn them down so that you don't suffer from burnout. And the question is, why did the AFN also take our biggest athletes in the month of June? The Olympics was in July to the African Senior Championship in Cameroon.
Because I think that's one of the major statements from the minister. But according to him, he said when he assumed the ministry less than a year before the Games, he learned that Nigeria's Olympic preparations had not even started.
That's it. And Los Angeles is in the next couple of years, not up to 4 years anymore as we speak. And the question is, how are we preparing for Los Angeles? But we must identify some of those problems first. The issue of Ophili and also the athletes that, was said to have borrowed a bicycle and trying to patch all the stories, leave us in an embarrassing and confusing state, telling us when will we learn from our past mistakes. Going back to the story of Falelas, let me just complete it. Osheku said he flew to France. France was our last meet with Mirionyale there. And he said this is what the federal government is offering. Don't participate in any athletics meets anymore across Europe. Focus on the Olympic Games. And that's what most athletes do. But unfortunately, because the money they will get from this meet, most of our athletes need them, they will participate in all this meets and suffer from burnout. You can imagine a world record holder to be a Muslim.
Double
world record holder, not making it to the final. See, I don't want to know.
Did she even get to the semi-final?
Did she even get to the semi-final? There is no excuse.
No excuse.
If she had ran and she had done everything right, Tebogo, I was talking to the sports minister and he said when he went to Cameroon, he did not run in the 200 meters event. He only participated in the relay. He had the focus. And we know all these things until we are ready to do away with selfish interests, until we are ready to do away with greed and all that, put the country first. A lot of things will not change in Nigeria's sport, and it is sad.
I think our preparation also has to be borne in mind. You can have the best talents. If you do not prepare them sufficiently, they will not win medals. I asked our friends that we spoke with some days back, I asked them whether the team had sports psychology. And they told me one sports psychologist was being used for everyone. Whereas a world beater from America will have his nutritionist, will have his sports psychologist, he will have a retinue of staff, sometimes up to 17 to one athlete. So if we are not ready, we are not ready. Sunday Dare, as sports minister, you may not like him, you may not like his ways, but it's on record that we began to do well. At least it was under him that we produced a world athletics champion for the first time in Toby Amushan. And then we won medals at the Olympics in Tokyo. Sunday camped the team in Japan for 2 months. This time around, we camped for 2 weeks. And we expect the same level of outcome.
With 12 billion.
So now, what I also heard was that even the 12 billion that we are talking about, the money was not released in good time. The money includes included training.
Training grants and all
training
that.
And all that. But you are releasing money at the time when the games had begun. So how about what was meant for training? What are we talking about here? We have officials that a lot of them, they are only interested in what can come into their pocket. They are not focusing on the national goal. It's unfortunate that all of those competitions where in the past Nigeria used to be among the best in the world, the short sprints, even African countries, small African countries have overtaken us in the short sprints. Otherwise, why would Kenya leading the short 100 meters. Kenya is defeating us now in 100 meters. They were good in quarter miles and long distance running. We were the kings of the short sprints. Remember people like Hamid Adio, Davison and Osman Ezenwa, you know, Chidimo. So many. We used to have so many. Dejali, we used to have so many of them. In an Olympic year, you will see at least 4 Nigerian athletes that you are convinced that whatever happens, they will be in the semi-finals and the final, or the 100 meters. Olapade Adeneken. Raw talent. From CNS College, Ilorin. This one is not as if they told me. I witnessed his growth under the tutelage of Coach Harrison Momo.
So, gentlemen, do you believe that there must now be a total
We
shock?
are not ready. We need, if we are ready, if we want to be world beaters, we must commit so much money. Others are spending so much money.
That's it.
We are not ready to spend that.
I'm not investing those money.
And if we cannot invest, if we are not ready to spend much money, we must get corporate concerns involved.
That's it.
The big corporate players in our country.
And that's what Botswana is doing.
Okay, yes, that's what they are doing. We can say, okay, athletics. We have world beaters. Adopt an athlete. It's been done in the US. The last administration, Sunday Dare, it was one of the methods that they adopted. And he also had someone like Marion Yali.
That's it.
Many years, Nigeria's fastest female sprinter.
Yes, a bronze medalist at the Olympics.
Yes, in the 4x100 meters. They won. They did very well. That team, Beatrice Utondu, Tina Ehiagwam, all of them. Today, we don't have big talents anymore. And we literally put our eggs in one basket. It was emotion that everybody. Emotion. So, in an Olympic year, we must find a way to ensure that those meets that those girls and boys are going for, so that they can earn some dollars, they don't have to. They will cherry pick the ones that they need to, so that, okay, the fitness is there. We can't afford to allow them to be running up and down. They will burn out.
Flying from one country to another.
They will burn out. They will burn out. But you know, my shock is, because all along we are talking about, what's it called? Athletics. How about wrestling? Ade Kuroye. Ade Kuroye was seen as the best in her category in the world. What happened, for God's sake? Even the girl that she defeated that girl because that girl was injured.
Was injured, yes.
What's going on?
In a situation whereby you must have prepared well, and situations like this come up where you probably don't get to the medal zone and all that, then you can start telling yourself, okay, at the next games, let's start preparation early. You know, I listened to the sportsman and talked about the fact that participating at the Olympic Games is key, and these are things you must cherish. But at this stage, it's not just participation.
We want to win.
We want to win medals.
Don't give us.
We want to showcase what Nigeria is made of. You see,
it's our national pride.
Yes, unfortunately, there were so many embarrassing situations that we didn't report as far as the Olympic Games is concerned. And, you know, all these things have been swept under the carpet.
Why will Adekuroye perform so poorly in the Olympics? The same thing with Oboro Dudu. Why?
No, as in about our boxers who failed drug tests going into the Olympics. You know, there were a lot of questions. You see, sensitizing these athletes. Some of these athletes don't have the best, except those who are coming from home, you know, just training and all that. From their training camp, you need to also attach, you know, doctors and everything to them on a day-to-day activity. Not that when an athlete is sick, the athlete wants to say, oh, let me take a go. Come on. See, there are certain things we shouldn't be doing.
There's some mistakes that they make.
You know, and out there, you hear of Nigerian athletes failing drug tests. It's embarrassing.
It's a national shame.
It's a national shame.
Let's also look at it this way. Why did this happen this way? Some Nigerians who represented other countries did well.
They won medals.
It's not the first time. And you see, the competition at the highest level is huge. Countries across the globe are investing so much, not just in sports, but in talent. A country who fails to understand the potential they have, there are countries who are waiting to snap them up.
Yes.
I'll give an example. You know, BKO mentioned them Sunday Diary. At some point in time, Sunday Diary was trying to see how the federal government, when it was a sports minister, can build infrastructures for athletes to train. It is very, very important. When athletes don't even have the facilities to train,
yes,
when they get to other countries where they have the best of facilities, you know, it's so sad that we have a Nigerian athlete, an Igbo lady, Chukwibuka something and all that, now running for Bahrain. She didn't just change nationality, she also changed her name. Now you hear Nasa El Sawari or whatsoever, and you ask yourself.
And she won a medal.
Yes, and they win medals.
I think there are up to 6 or 8 of them.
She was together with Toby Amuson at the junior category, represented Nigeria in Sweden in one of the competitions. I just spoke to their coach some days back. You know, but when you take a look at all these things, you ask yourself, how did we lose it? How did we get here?
Okay, so Ahmed Adio is saying that until we consider sport as big business and treat it as such and not just a pastime, and also see that those running our sports are technically sound, experienced, and patriotic, the results will remain the same.
I think if the funding is not good enough, the funding is crucial. The funding is crucial. You can't go and the planning has to be top-notch. You can't go and camp people for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Others are preparing for 4 years.
For 4 years.
What's wrong with us? And we want, you see, sometimes we win some medals out of luck. And we just imagine that, okay, it's right. No, we have to be deliberate in preparing for the Olympics. The Americans will not joke with those swimming medals because they know when they lost the medley relay. It was like a calamity had befallen them when China took down the gold of them.
The swimming relay is always between China and America. And you see athletes as young as 13, 14, 15,
You're already grooming
16.
them.
You're already grooming them in
Yes.
swimming. Now, let's come back to Nigeria and ask ourselves. The riverine area. I was watching the Olympics and I was seeing marathon swimming. I was asking myself, how come Nigeria is not participating in such? Sometimes you have some of this federation. The federation may be in Abuja, for example. And where these talents are probably somewhere in Rivers, Bayelsa, Ondo, Delta. And no one is doing anything tangible within that region.
To look for
to
talents.
Organize
If
tournaments.
you get talents and with a good coach. You'll be
surprised. Amazed.
You'll be surprised the kind of talents that will come out of there. It's just unfortunate. It's a national shame. As a Nigerian, I'm ashamed.
It's sad.
That we went to this
the Nigerian
Olympics.
anthem was not recited at all at the Olympics.
Anywhere.
It's
when you
sad.
didn't win the gold.
When you didn't win the gold.
Nobody will play your anthem.
Yeah, that's also there.
I was hoping to see somebody draped in the Nigerian flag. Even for winning a bronze.
That's it.
It never happened.
Unfortunately, it never happened.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we'll do better.
Yeah, but, it's not enough to hope. If we
Hard
continue with the way we are doing, then policy somersault and all that. I hope some of the policies that Mary Onyali and Sunday Dari, the way the ones they conceived, I hope they can continue some.
All right, gentlemen, we have to go.
Because they are good.
Me and Akira, thank you so much for your input today. Thank you so much. BKO, let me say a special thank you to you. And Chris Kainde-Wando, thank you so much for your perspective on the program today. That's all we have on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Ignorance is the mother of personal destruction, a voluntary misfortune, and it is worse when you are ignorant of your ignorance.
You and Your Health with Dr. Richard Okoye is brought to you by Dr. Civil Life Foundation as he uncovers the mystery behind most deadly diseases, their causes, prevention, and latest treatment. Sending your comment and health-related questions. Together, let's liberate Africa from health ignorance.
Hear this, you are ignorantly awaiting the arrival of your wife's menopause. If you have low sperm count and ignore it.
Join Dr. Richard Okoye every Sunday by 3:30 p.m.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Our presence in the camp may have brought some form of hope for them as they quickly organize themselves, thinking we have brought the most essential commodity, food. The look on their faces speaks to the disappointment they felt when they realized we were not there to share food. Some followed us around, especially this woman saying, "We are hungry." That was how best she could express her situation as she showed us a food ration ticket in the camp. While the children were happy at the sight of the camera and TV crews, the adults were more concerned about the lack of food supply, which they had not received for several months now. Some have turned to petty trading, including the sale of illegal medication, just to make ends meet. The United Nations, through one of its agencies, the World Food Programme, started providing food support to the internally displaced affected by the insurgency in the northeast in 2015. Meeting up with the food provision has been greatly affected by the Ukraine-Russia war, as the humanitarian situation there also competes for funding from international donors, thereby depleting the food assistance since 2022. As of 2021, 4.3 million people were targeted for food assistance in Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states. About 43.6% of the required $354 million was received that year. The competing need to also provide aid for victims of war in Gaza reduced the target for 2024 to 2.8 million people, despite the increasing number of displaced persons in the camps. As of July, the middle of the year, only about 11% of the budgeted $350 million had been received.
The last time we had a scope restriction is...
Musa Idris is one of the recent returnees who fled to Niger at the peak of the insurgency. He says he returned about a year and a half ago and has only been given one ration of food since his return.
Since I arrived here, no food has been shared. Everybody is going through the same thing. We are not getting anything from anywhere. There is no medicine. Every time they bring out dead bodies because people are falling sick and dying. Some women go out to fetch firewood to sell, just to get something to eat. By the time I got here, they were suffering. Till now, we are still suffering. May God help us so that we can find a way out.
The government secondary school premises turned into the IDP camp were originally made to accommodate less than 30,000 people. It currently gives refuge to more than 65,000 displaced persons. According to the camp manager, there are approximately 15 households returning to the camp daily from the neighboring Niger and Chad, where they have fled to in search of safety. This has further crowded the camp and increased competition for scarce resources. The impact of this lack of food has made malnutrition the most prevalent illness among children in the camp. About a year ago, TVC News visited Bama community where children were treated for acute malnutrition and extreme dehydration. The story was not so palatable. This time around, we're in Damasak to check children also affected by acute malnutrition and extreme dehydration. Come with me as we check their situation and how they are faring.
So this is sterilization test.
The emptiness of the beds may look like good news, unlike what we experienced in Bama camp. But Dr. Kamai, who received us, says the rainy season may have come with some challenges in this regard.
A month ago, we have to look for other wards to admit cases of severe acute malnutrition because the ward is overwhelmed, it's full, the beds are full to their capacity. So we have to go and admit them in other wards. But because of the rainy season, you can see most of them, like I said earlier, most of them have went to the farm to plant their crops because the complaint they usually give is, yes, we are taking care of these children, but they have other children at home that have to be fed. They have to get food for those children. So they cannot prioritize this one over the other ones.
Unfortunately, according to the doctor, this increases cases of fatalities.
Sometimes when they come back with other children, when we ask how, it increases the rate of mortality, actually. Because, like I said, it's not as if these children are not sick. It's not as if they are not malnourished. But then they have to be on the farm. Even if we tried to counsel them why they need to stand, they need to stay at the facility, they will agree with us. But early in the morning, you see that they pack their things and leave, they will abscond. Okay,
Hawa, a 16-year-old mother of a newborn, brought in her child at the brink of death. The 3-week-old baby, tucked under a piece of clothing, was brought into the facility with a lot of challenges.
She came severely wasted with weight loss and fever. She was delivered at home and had maybe poor delivery, and then came with presumed sepsis. And so we are managing her here for that, and as you can see now, she's getting better. She has much recovered since admission.
The other children undergoing treatment at the facility, according to the doctor, were also responding well to the special meal they were placed on. 9-month-old baby Maimuna has also fully recovered from severe acute malnutrition. She is the 9th child of her 30-year-old mother. All her other 8 siblings are dead. To prevent another death, her mother had to trek 30 kilometers from where she stays outside the IDP camp to access the stabilization center located within the general hospital.
This is her 15th day on admission with us here. She was first admitted at the stabilization phase. Now you can see her playing, she's relatively stable. So after stabilization, now she's on RUTF. From here, we will now move her to OTP, where she will continue management.
Children well stabilized, like Maimuna, are referred to the outpatient therapeutic program within the IDP camp. The OTP also attends to children with symptoms of malnutrition.